You can obviously get a company up and running with, I think this says the minimum of 5 fulfiller licenses. What is a fulfiller license in terms of just like breaking that down?
Yeah, it would be anybody that would be in there on a daily basis, needing to make changes, creating tickets, even wanting to follow up with reports. That would be considered a fulfiller license.
What are the other licenses then?
It's just that. I mean, obviously, as you expand on the platform, there's more licensing, of course. And I would always recommend having a conversation with the sales reps, as a lot of people changing from the on-premise solution and going over to ServiceNow. There's a lot of different flavors, right? And a lot of things need to be taken into account.
Oh, for sure.
It's not an easy exercise at times. I brought up our next slide here, and this kind of gives you, we said, full ITSM maturity as per for day one. So, giving you a good idea of everything that's built within ITSM, you'll see on the very left side. So this would keep your organization extremely busy over the next year to adopt all of this within your organization. But the good news is it's all there ready for you to consume. So I think one of the interesting conversations I have with a lot of mid-market organizations is, well, Sean, you know what? I just need incident problem change. That's all that we're really needing right now. And I think the conversation really shifts towards, okay, but now it's all available to you. How about we start looking at KPI reporting and what type of transformation that would make within your business? A lot of the mid-market organizations I chat with, KPI reporting doesn't exist today. Going back to your visibility point earlier, Jay, there was a gentleman down in Texas, a global operation. He was very worried about SLAs that they were missing, and how that reported back for his clientele. He just had no visibility. How does he make educated business decisions? So I think it's about taking that knowledge, that insight, and empowering your employees with it.
Right.
We got a picture of a smartphone here. Self-service is, again, I think non-existent for a lot of organizations. I was chatting with a Canadian media company 2 weeks ago who had made mention that he thought that his users liked to call in. They didn't want to use self-service. And my comment often back to those prospects that we're chatting with those CIOs is, most likely that is the case today, because you've tried to use maybe more different tools that are not as powerful as ServiceNow. I would equate ServiceNow to Amazon in your personal life. My mother, I always bring this up, she uses Amazon. That's how simple it is. She's 72 years old. Adopt ServiceNow within your environment, and I think we'd be very surprised at the changes in behavior.
Right. And it's kind of like that Superman syndrome. I mean, I've been working in IT 20 plus years. Even historically, people depended on IT to get things fixed. However,
Yes.
what is happening is that we've all been using technology for a good long time. It's not brand new anymore, right? We don't have the help desk where there's that one power user that goes around and fixes things for us.
That's right.
If you have an IT department, it's usually spread very thin, and there should be focused on things like infrastructure and network. One of the things is that when you're doing IT for that long, you often feel like, yeah, this is the way it is. But there is better methods, and this is proven,
Yes.
right? We call it the drive-by. People walking up to the IT door, knocking on it, and going, "Hey, I've got a computer problem. I need you to fix it." That is
Yes.
definitely one way to do it, and I would never lessen the importance of at least having, the drive-by model, or what I would call the Best Buy model or Geek Squad model, where people can just go up and self-service themselves, asking for help. But people are technology savvy now. So when people can consume IT services instantly and get things resolved very, very quickly, then you can start seeing the return on investment,
Yes.
right? Like now you can really see the bigger picture, because now your end user's happier. It's now becoming more affordable. The end user's not spending as much time waiting. Things are increasing in terms of productivity.
Yeah.
So it's all of those things to consider.
That's perfect. And here's of course, I think cost is always an easy thing to measure. So it always comes down to, we can all compare dollars to dollars, right? I'll tell you that the client experience, and Jason's always good to bring this up on calls with CIOs, is that, we can always provide world-class surveys. It's a very simple survey interface through our Grand Central. And this always resonates very well with CIOs because it seems to be that I took it for granted, I guess, up until probably about 6 months ago with Jason, where, the smiley face, kind of neutral face and angry face, keeping it that simple, it reduces a lot of misinformation. And it seems to be a plague in the industry of misinformation with wrong data. So, but beyond, sorry, Jay.
The other thing I want to just chime in very quickly is that as a CIO, you don't want to have what I call mutiny on the bounty, right? Like the CIO is there to kind of govern IT as a business. And, if you're caught off guard by other VPs and other C-levels saying, my end users are telling me like IT is running like garbage right now. Well, to the CIO, that's a hit job. Right.
Yes.
So
yes.
you need that CIO needs to have that visibility.
Yes.
Right. So, and that's where all of that kind of comes into play.
100%. And beyond just, we're kind of getting into the qualitative, but if you want the quantitative, which like I was getting at before about the dollars and cents, here's a good, and I always try to be modest in the numbers that I throw out for prospects. Here we have a comparison between ServiceNow Enterprise and Grand Central. And to make sure I'm clear on this, and just because sometimes I think I do a poor job of explaining, we're happy to service our clients with either or model. We have some clients that do require ServiceNow Enterprise. There's a lot of customization that they might need. They need a lot of special workflows for their organization. We're always going to, I think, not steer them towards Grand Central, but make them question, is that customization actually really required? Because there becomes challenges with it. But everyone, this will kind of give you a cost differential here. In line 2 of the ServiceNow, you'll see admin developer salary. I've only put one in there. And you'll also see the implementation cost is much higher. I figured about $108,000 for an implementation. That doesn't seem to be outlandish compared to a lot of the organizations that we've been at. And to be honest, it's modest in a lot of ways. So looking at the Grand Central model, you can see how it can be very cost effective from a numbers and cents point of view, and alluding to everything we discussed earlier about maybe reducing some risk and taking that away. There's obvious benefits like that. Of course, going back to my commentary about we're happy to service our clients, some of them do require ServiceNow in the traditional format where they would require their own instance. We have something called a remote system administration. Jason had alluded to it earlier where he was speaking to one person having keys to the castle. And this seems to be a huge problem in the industry where you have one individual or two individuals that are trained up. They go sick, they find a different job, whatever have you, but it really handcuffs the organization. This program allows you to tap into our resources on a monthly basis. And it's not to replace any individual. It's just to be an extension of that team.
Right. And one thing just to obviously expand on that thought, IT business has been around for 30 plus years now. Some of these people are now retiring, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
That tribal knowledge goes out the window, right? And then, that IT department is left scrambling to kind of find that resource. And the good news is here is that we can be that resource for you. And we have the various packages that you see before you in terms of, per hour, hours of development per month. But again, it's one of those things where, we can obviously bring in new features. We can fix those problems. We can do enhancements or bring in other add-ons like GRC or project management or what have you. So it's one of those things where we're going to keep your business, or at least your IT business, remaining agile.
Yeah, I think as some clients turn on ServiceNow, as they adopt it within their organization, some just want to get help in the first years. So they leverage us for that. Some just want to have, leave all the heavy lifting to us in a sense. They want to do the work. They can handle the majority of it. But there's 20% that is perhaps complex and they need a helping hand,
right,
where they're able to tap into our team. So I left this for the end, and with the house before, kind of give you guys an idea. But this is, again, the 4 pillars that we touch upon, where we have the service desk to help out your team. They're multilingual, French, Spanish. I think this deck is a little bit old because I believe we have Portuguese now. Developing SLAs for your team. A lot of mid-market, we don't have SLAs. So having a turnkey offering for your team where you have SLAs and reporting at your fingertips. We were just speaking about remote system administration, being that if you have ServiceNow as a dedicated instance, you're able to tap into our resources as an augmentation of your team, or we can manage it for you however you see fit.
One thing I would also like to bring up about remote system administration is that now with the advent of API in a lot of these cloud applications, I mean, we use things like Meraki and various other programs or other software SaaS solutions, is that we are often asked to be able to integrate systems. So we become the system integrator, right? So we're obviously able to code in REST API where we can bring in various solutions into ServiceNow, where again, once we start pulling the data from your various systems, we can let that data reside in ServiceNow that we can now pull information and reporting and metrics, right? So we're getting, again, what I call that I don't call it, I actually stole it from ServiceNow, but
sure.
the single record of truth, right? Because now you've got visibility into things like your ERP or your accounting information, right? Or maybe other IT systems that you want to pull various information from. You want to understand how many users are remote controlling a month versus, that are not, right? In terms of your incident count. So, this is how we do it. So it's one of those things where we become that system integrator. So I just want to kind of touch on that. I think it's really
I appreciate
kind of
that.
Important aspect.
I got a question about Alien Vault the other day and how it integrates. So that was something new I'd never heard about, and now I think I could sell Alien Vault.
That's a fantastic tool.
Is it? Yeah. I was pretty ignorant on it. Yeah. Our third pillar, of course, what we've mainly spoke about here, our Grand Central, our pre-built offering, and ServiceNow in the traditional format, and our automation tool, End Central, which is dear to Jason's heart, which really puts our clients in a driver's seat to be much more proactive in managing things instead of putting out fires every day.
Well, yeah, and just to kind of touch on the SolarWinds product that we use or have customized, is that we've put a lot of love into that particular platform.
Yes.
And we've obviously built out that integration into ServiceNow.
Yes.
And it's one of those things that our customers are seeing the positive effects of that particular integration. So not only are we using it as a business, but our customers as well. And it's been a huge success because of the what I would call the all-in-one remote management and monitoring solution. We all need to, in IT, we all need to monitor our systems, right? We need to manage those systems, and oftentimes we need to be able to remote into them as well. But when we can start automating and self-healing on some of those things, and then getting all of that information over to ServiceNow, it's a win.
Yes. Back to your one system of record or one system of truth.
That's single record of truth. That's what they call
single it. And here to expand, today we're talking about ITSM, but we see a lot of demand in the marketplace for client service management and HR modules. So as we grow, as we develop, there is obvious we're recognizing the demand, and we hope to expand beyond that. So, I think that's it for my slides here. I'd like to thank everybody for joining. Any last commentary, Jason? Any?
No, I mean, it's one of those things. I thought that was a really good webinar. Obviously, I could ask you a couple questions because you spend a lot more time on the sales side, working with our prospects and our customers. What, from your perspective, what are some of the pain points that, I mean, we talked about IT transformation, or at least, I talked a little bit about it as well, but what are the main drivers for, ITSM adoption? Like, what's going to hit home and really make people think about going, wow, you know what, this is for me?
No visibility in the business, and maybe like that's an overused term again with digital transformation, but just a lack of. I'm surprised how often I hear an individual mention how many incidents they have per month, and then the second part that they'll mention to me is, but we're not capturing everything, and then I'm sitting in a room with 20 CIOs and I see a lot of head bobbing. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is just not trying to get, how do they get visibility in their business today? Because they just don't have it. And that's more the norm than the exception.
It is part of that lack of visibility. I mean, I've seen it with, IT departments as well, is that they all kind of work in silos, right?
Yes.
Like you've got finance, you've got sales, you've got maybe engineering. It really depends on the business and the vertical, but it's one of those things that everyone's kind of siloed, and obviously those silos have their leaders, even their C-level executives that are looking after finance or accounting and are looking after the VP or of sales, the executives. But at the same point, at some point, you want to have that kind of cross-pollination, right? You want to be able to see and have that visibility so that you can have, obviously, you can mitigate your business risk because you now have the proper visibility across your business.
Yeah, it's interesting, obviously that's always existed. I mean, gosh, people older than me, they would probably say that this is nothing new. Mm-hmm. I think that those silos have always existed. Everybody's put it on Excel or written it down on a paper. They all try to merge the data and we just assume it as gospel, if you would, assume it as true. But I think now with these powerful tools with software that we're coming out with ServiceNow and the like, what's happening is you're starting to get a much more robust picture of that one silo, and then you're demanding it from all lines of your business now. So I don't think it's anything new. I think we're just starting, clients are now, or organizations are starting to see the power of it, and they're demanding it at all lines of the business, right, and for it to cross-pollinate. It was okay before to come with a piece of paper scrunched up and here's my number or here's my data, but no longer is that acceptable anymore, right? Because we're just seeing the power of ServiceNow and the like.
Right. Now, we did mention earlier that we do both kind of the enterprise ServiceNow, or now we have the kind of pre-built Grand Central. What are the kind of key differentiators, and how does a company know to choose either or?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a really good question. I think, it's very interesting because, as everyone knows in software, things evolve. So what it really came down to is based on what maturity of the platform they wanted. Did they want to get customer service modules and the like? We weren't able to tie that in with Grand Central at the time. And the other one was just back to that customization and whether they wanted to tackle it internally.
Gotcha.
A lot of organizations, listen, they'll tell you very frankly whether they believe in a managed service model or they don't. Whether they want to keep those resources in-house or they believe in outsourcing as much as possible. So those three items. What's interesting is as we've evolved the Grand Central platform, it's not a case of either or anymore. What's happening in the very short term is where they're able to start off with Grand Central, and as the business matures and they would like to partition off of it, for lack of a better word, they're able to do that. So yeah, the conversation before, it's interesting how you phrase that. I don't know if you did it on purpose, but very interesting no less, is because, yeah, it used to be an either or scenario. No longer is that the case.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's it for me.
That's it for you? Well, okay then. Jason, really appreciate you joining. Very much so. I always enjoy chatting with you. very knowledgeable. Thank you, everybody, for joining the webinar. It is recorded. We will send that out to you by request. Let us know anything that you would like. And by all means, if there's any questions afterwards, I'm terrible. I always have questions afterwards. I don't think of them at the time. By all means, feel free to email me. My number, my email is on there. I'm very responsive. So again, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, everybody.